On August 15th, 2026, the most decorated woman in boxing history is about to take the biggest gamble of her career. And if it goes wrong, you're watching her legacy crack live on pay-per-view. Clarissa Shields walks into State Farm Arena in Atlanta as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Floyd Mayweather Jr., Terence Crawford, and Shakur Stevenson will be watching from ringside. She'll have a rapper walk her to the ring. 17,000 fans will be screaming her name. Every sign points to an easy night, but here's what almost nobody is talking about. Shields isn't defending her heavyweight throne, she's walking away from it. For one night, she's shrinking her body back down to a size she left behind 2 years ago. She's doing it to chase a title she already won once before, and that choice alone might be more dangerous than any opponent she's ever faced. Let's go through her resume first, because you need it to understand what's really at stake here. 2 Olympic gold medals, 18 wins as a pro, 0 losses. She's been the undisputed champion in 3 different weight classes. No other woman in boxing history has done that. She calls herself the greatest woman of all time. On paper, it's hard to argue with her, but paper doesn't explain why she's about to do the strangest thing of her entire career. Here's the gamble. Shields has fought her last 4 fights at heavyweight. In her most recent fight, she weighed in at 173.6 pounds. On August 15th, she has to weigh no more than 160 pounds. That means she has to lose almost 14 pounds in just a few weeks. And she has to do it with a body that spent the last 2 years getting used to being bigger and heavier. She's not doing this for an easy fight. She's doing it to challenge Kay Scott for the WBC and WBA middleweight titles. These are belts Shields already held once before. Back in 2019, she beat Christina Hammer and unified the entire middleweight division. She already proved she's the best at this weight. Now she's climbing back down the mountain to prove it all over again. And that's exactly where this fight turns dangerous. When a fighter cuts weight, they don't just lose pounds. They can lose power. They can lose speed. They can lose stamina. Those are the exact tools Shields depends on the most. She's not a knockout puncher. She's only finished 3 of her 18 fights early. She wins by throwing more punches than her opponent, and by outsmarting them for 12 straight rounds. If the weight cut drains her legs, if her hands feel even a little bit slower, if she can't keep up her usual pace, she loses the one advantage that has never let her down. And the woman standing across the ring is built to take advantage of exactly that. So who is Kay Scott? If you only look at her record, 5 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 0 knockouts, you might think Shields' team picked an easy name to pad the resume. That red is wrong. And it's wrong in a way that should worry Shields' camp. Scott is 42 years old and she's from Sydney, Australia. She didn't stumble into boxing by accident. She spent 15 years on the Australian national team. She had more than 70 fights as an amateur against some of the best women boxing has ever seen. She shared the ring with Olympic gold medalists Lauren Price and Busanaz Surmaneli, world champion Lovelina Borgohain, and current professional world champion Sandy Ryan. That's not an easy resume. That's a career spent trading punches with the exact level of fighter that Shields built her whole legend fighting. Scott only turned professional in November 2023, but she walked into the pro ranks with more rounds against elite competition than most fighters get in 12 fights. Just 2 years later, in December 2025, she became a unified WBC and WBA middleweight champion. She isn't keeping the belt warm for Shields. She's defending something that belongs to her. And here's the detail that should really worry Shields' fans. Scott has sparred with Shields before. She's felt Shields' timing up close. She's studied how Shields creates angles and sets up her combinations. Most fighters who step in with Clarissa Shields are walking in blind. Scott isn't one of them. She's bringing a scouting report that money can't buy, and she's bringing it into a fight where Shields might not even be at full strength. Picture how this could play out on fight night. Scott is a pressure fighter. She's most dangerous at close range, where she can crowd her opponent and turn the fight into a scrap. That's exactly the kind of fight a drained, weight-cut Shields does not want. If Scott can push the pace early, cut off the ring, and make Shields work harder than usual, the late rounds stop being safe ground for Shields. Instead, they become a fight for survival. Now, before this turns into a fairy tale for the underdog, let's slow down. Kay Scott has a real chance built on preparation and familiarity. But Clarissa Shields has 10 years of proof that she solves problems nobody else can. She has elite head movement, hand speed that people call generational, footwork and boxing IQ that turned Christina Hammer and an undefeated champion in her own right into a non-issue. Shields doesn't take fights out of desperation. At this point in her career, every fight is a calculated move for her legacy. She's already the first woman to headline at State Farm Arena. She already drew over 17,000 fans in Detroit. She's already pulling women's boxing onto stages it has never stood on before. This fight isn't a risk she stumbled into. It's a risk she chose, with her eyes wide open. Because the reward on the other side is massive. If Shields beats Kay Scott, she doesn't just add 2 more belts to her collection of 18 world titles across 5 weight classes. She sets up the biggest fight in the history of women's boxing. Clarissa Shields versus Lauren Price. Shields has already said this fight could happen before the end of the year. Everything, the weight cut, the risk, the sleepless nights trying to make 160 pounds, is a price she's choosing to pay for a shot at becoming the greatest to ever do this, with no arguments left to make. So what actually happens on August 15th? The betting markets aren't hedging their bets. Shields is a -2,000 favorite. A $2,000 bet on Shields only wins you $100. Scott sits at plus 1360. A $100 bet on the underdog would pay out over $1,300 if she pulls off the upset. The odds makers have basically already written the ending. And most of the time, odds makers are right. But here's my honest read. I think Shields wins this fight. She's too skilled and too experienced to get outboxed by someone she's facing for the first time as a professional, even at a lighter weight. But here's where it gets interesting. If the weight cut takes even a little bit off her usual pace, don't expect her typical wide, comfortable decision. Expect a close fight. Expect rounds where Scott, using everything she learned sparring with Shields years ago, makes the champion earn every single point. Don't be shocked if this fight looks competitive on the scorecards, even if Shields gets her hand raised at the end. And that's the real story here. It's not just about whether Shields wins, it's about what winning ugly would say about her. If the greatest woman in boxing needs a hard-fought decision to get past a fighter most people had never heard of, that's not a small detail. That's a warning sign for every fighter circling her next, including a rising Olympic gold medalist named Lauren Price, who will be watching this fight closely for the exact same cracks that Kay Scott is hoping to find. If you want the breakdown the moment the scorecards are read, subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll have the full analysis up within hours of the final bell. And if you're wondering why everyone in combat sports is suddenly talking about Dakota Ditcheva, that video is coming next. Because just like Shields, Ditcheva is rewriting what's possible. And you're going to want to understand her story before everyone else does.